right now we're going to be joined for a conversation on yesterday's Enterprise with Denise Crosby.
Wow. You guys. I feel, first of all, I mean, I am so grateful you're here. What a delight. But I feel like Christine Lottie, you know, at the Emmys when she was announced Best Actress and she was in the restroom. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys saw that. I recently saw it, but wow.
What was it like for you to see that on the big screen?
I hadn't seen it. That's why I had to go to I was holding, you know, it the whole time because I hadn't seen this episode in probably, 30 years or whenever it aired. And it's so sweet and precious, especially recently I've been talking about Christopher McDonald, and you know who plays Lieutenant Castillo, and
call him Richard.
I'm going to tell you a wacky story about that particular scene. This is a little bit of trivia. So he and I hit it off so well, and which was one of the great takeaways from doing this particular episode, and there are so many. I mean, first of all, you know, it was such a surprise to get a call 3 years after I'd left the show that I was going to have an opportunity and a chance to come back. But that being said, he and I just had an immediate chemistry, an immediate rapport, and we went on to play in different parts together in different shows. I think we did 3 other episodes we did a movie together where we played husband and wife. We did, I did guest appearances on a couple of his series that he started. But so we just really hit it off. And in that scene, and I could barely hold my laughter when we're getting to know each other, and he's finally had it with me being very formal and being very professional and constantly calling him Lieutenant. And he says, you know, look, you know, we've known each other for a day. So, you know, what do people, you know, what do they call? I heard Guinan call you Tasha. Can I call you Tasha? Yeah, you can call me Tasha. What do I call you? Well, my colleagues call me Castillo, and my mother calls me Richard. And she goes, okay, Castillo. Okay, so off camera, he says to me, Chris, says, you know, my colleagues call me Castillo, my mother calls me Richard, but you can call me Dick. And I, from that moment going forward, could never keep a straight face acting with him, ever, ever. I said, please don't look at me when you're acting with me in a scene, because I can't look at you. I don't want to look at you. And we subsequently, when you see that great scene with Captain Garrett, see, this is all coming back to me now because I haven't seen the episode. So when there's that great scene with Captain Garrett and Picard, you know, they're down front and they're talking about what it would mean to go back, and but the war would not happen. I mean, it's just, the writing of this episode is so good. I get why people like this episode. I haven't seen it in a while. But it's so solid, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. But so Chris and I are you don't even see us actually in the cut, but we're in the background, way in the background, like on the ground fixing, the ship panels, addressing some engineering stuff. And the scene is a very deep, heavy dialogue scene between Garrett and Picard. And Chris and I are in the background, and he looks at me, and he makes some expression, and I start going, and I lose it. I start laughing. I break their take, but I pretend I'm coughing because it's, Patrick Stewart. And then Chris covers for me and says, "Oh God, can someone get her some water?" And I'm just going, faking this coughing thing. And it's just ridiculously stupid laughter that this man is evoking in this entire episode.
The interesting thing is, you talk about the writing. The writing for this, even just watching it now for, I don't know how many times I've seen this episode now, but you just shake your head and go, God damn, it's just absolutely brilliant writing. Like the first time you got the call, hey, we'd like you to come back, and you get the screenplay and you're reading it, did you just shake your head and go, holy Toledo?
It was worth dying in the first season and getting off the show to get this episode.
Unbelievable. Wow.
How weird is that? Life is so strange in that way. But what I'm watching when I'm watching this tonight, I'm thinking it checks a lot of boxes. This episode, it's enough of the adventure and the science fiction battles and the war, and then of course the legacy of Star Trek with the, you've got the Klingons and the Romulans all, as chess pieces, but then you've got this subtle, beautiful harmony of the personality coming through, and the warmth and the depth of Tasha Yar that, is so wonderful to get a taste of and get more of, especially if you were a fan in the 80s watching this TV show and it ended like that at the end of season 1, to be able to experience that in season 3, I think was I get it.
Listen, when you were on the first season and Tasha was, she was pretty tough. And in this episode, we get to, like you said, it encompasses so many emotions because you've got the action adventure, you've got the Star Trekiness of it all with the Klingons and the Romulans, you've got a true science fiction time travel story, which obviously works really well. We'll get First Contact and, Voyage Home, and of course, City on the Edge of Forever. And you've got this love story and this chemistry with Chris McDonald, which the chemistry is so palpable, just like it was with Shatner and Joan Collins and the original series, that up City on the Edge. But that coming back for you, because the third season is when Next Generation really started to hit its stride. So when you came back on, what was it like seeing everybody working with everybody again?
Well, it was a real special treat. It was just exciting because it was not it wasn't anything I could foresee happening. So it was a wonderful kind of chance to still savor this family and be part of this. Of course, getting to work with Whoopi, Guinan had come in, and I wasn't a part of the cast. So, and the dynamic, you can feel that play out, because it's funny, Whoopi and I had met privately in our personal lives, but we hadn't we hadn't engaged, professionally. So this was really a delight to be able to do, and it was just wonderful to kind of check back in and see where everyone was, where I left off, and much had changed. They had grown into themselves and the show, and so it was really a wonderful kind of experience, unique, very unique.
You get the sense that there was a more like everyone was more confident, that like they felt like they were getting it. The show was getting more popular. I was telling, we just aired an episode, and Brent.
Yeah.
And I have a question for you in a moment. But he too said that it took a little while for Next Gen to find its footing. I felt like the third season is really when it happened, because you had writers like Ron Moore, who co-wrote this, and Bran and Braga and Michael Piller, Renee Echeverria, Jerry Taylor. So did you feel like they were like, okay, we got this? And of course, Jonathan had already started directing too.
Yeah, it really, and often shows do take a year, to kind of gel and find their voice. This was a particularly difficult, though, road, because it's, there were 26 episodes a season. If you can imagine, I mean, nobody does that now. It's very hard to write at that level, and to find science fiction writers that could grasp Gene's vision. It was very difficult those first couple of years. I think Michael Piller was a huge, it's considered, the third season is when everything kind of found its feet and its legs, and it did, it really did. So, yeah.
So so the episode we just ran was The Measure of a Man. It's from the second season. So there's a scene where Data has a little memento of Tasha Yar, and he flips it on, and there's little Denise Crosby.
No, Tasha Yar.
Of Tasha Yar, right.
That's in Brent's, other house.
Yeah.
Right.
So Brent knew we were talking to you next. So Brent's question for you is, did you get paid for that?
Wow. I'm gonna say no. That's really fun. Yeah. No, that whole angle is a tough one. The old likeness and royalty checks. Yeah. No.
But the interesting thing is that so you get this chance to come back for the greatest Next Gen episode of them all, and that's another door for you to come back, but not as Tasha. So, like, when did that call happen, and what was your take with that?
With Sela? Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, I sort of came up with an idea of Lieutenant Castillo and Tasha Yar having a child. That when, it was pretty established they were in love, and that was part of her commitment to go back. That when the Enterprise C was captured by the Romulans, that Tasha was still alive, and the Romulans realized she was pregnant, and they kept her alive so that they could raise the child as a Romulan and use it as a bargaining tool with the Federation. So this was kind of this weird idea I had. I don't know why and how I got to this, but it was a combination of talking with fans and talking with people and just seeing it as a possibility. And I called the executive producer, Rick Berman, and pitched this idea. And we had lunch, and he thought, he said, interesting. Let me get back to you, and what that means in Hollywood translation is bye-bye. So I thought, okay, whatever. I gave my shot, So a couple months went by, and I get this call from Rick Berman, who says, we're going to go with that idea. We're going to bring back, Tasha had a daughter, but not with Castillo, with a Romulan general. She was captured and kept concubine, a general's concubine, and gave birth to this daughter who's a Romulan leader, Sela, and you can play Sela. You can play your own daughter. Wow. And I went, wow, this is really cool. Now this is really cool.
Like you try to get out, but they keep pulling you back in.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I don't know who's played their own daughter. Right?
Good question.
That's a good trivia question.
Yeah,
Google.
What movies
Google.
or TV shows have had people play their own, offspring? So when you came back for that was in the end of season 4. So how did the show change? How did the dynamic change from yesterday's Enterprise to the end of season 4?
To going from, say it again. Sorry.
Going from playing Tasha to Sela.
How was the leap, or how was the show different when you came back a year later for that? Okay. Well, every year that the show was on, it was a richer, deeper grasp of they were more settled into who they were, and the storylines were, I think, richer. But it wasn't, for me, it was like I barely left, like I was just there. Yeah. It was putting on that great pair of jeans you have in the back of your closet, and you can still get into them, and so it wasn't like so bizarre. It was just, I'd been away for a while, and maybe Gates's hair had changed a little bit, or Jonathan had a beard, or but it was always really. I think I sort of spiced them up a little bit too, It's always a good kind of mix for me to come back and sort of rile them up a little bit.
Well, if you got questions, we got 2 microphones up
good.
here. And boy, we already have somebody who's ready for a question. He was waiting.
Yeah.
Look at you. You're not old enough.
Who knows, okay?
Here, definitely, take it, own it.
So, quick question. When you first found out that your character was not going to die a big heroic death, how did you exactly feel about that?
That my character was not going to die...
A heroic death, like a big heroic death.
Oh, okay. So that's a really good question, because the way Gene Roddenberry designed it and sort of imagined it was that Tasha Yar purposefully would die with, so unprovoked that Armus, the skin of evil in that episode, would be more impactful. That she would have done nothing to instigate his rage and his anger, that he was so evil that he would kill somebody without any provocation. So that was the design, and in that concept, I thought, wow, that's really good. That's powerful, because that reflects some really strong things back at us. People kill all the time without provocation, without reason, you know? I mean, is there any reason to kill? You know, one might ask themselves. So it was pretty powerful. I don't know dramatically, it's kind of intellectually strong, but I don't know if dramatically it was a payoff, because people were let down. You know, they wanted to see this character really like fight for, you know, with skin and nails to the end, you know? So that was what was so rewarding, to come back in yesterday's Enterprise and sort of address this and redeem herself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that
Thank
great
you for that question. Over here, we have a question.
Here, you can take your mask. I think we had to prove vaccination.
Thank you.
Because,
Well, I'm good.
Yeah.
No, so I was going to say, I thought it was really special that they brought you back for the finale, All Good Things. That was my favorite part, really, was you. Can you tell us your experience of being approached and then participating in that finale?
Thank you so much. What a great honor and a great surprise to, you know, certainly to be included in that. And it was really interesting for me to do All Good Things, because, again, I had popped in and out over the seasons. It wasn't like I had gone from season 1, now I'm in the end of season 7. So I kind of assumed, I know Tasha Yar. I live with Tasha Yar in my heart. You know, I know how to play her. I just get into my spacesuit and, you know, I got her. Not really. I got into my costume and got into the little space shuttle, and suddenly I'm sitting next to Patrick as Captain Picard, and I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't played this in a while. Who is this woman? Who is this person? And I assumed that more than I had, you know. I had to quickly come to terms with and find Tasha Yar again.
Yeah, thank you. Where'd he go? So, you know, the thing is, so you get to come back for yesterday's Enterprise, which is obviously brilliant, and then you get to come back again for you know, I was talking before, we were talking about All Good Things being just one of the great series finales of dramatic television, period. And you get to be there for that. But you get to be there when they're saying goodbye, sort of, because they were jumping into the film. So what was it like for them sort of reaching the end, kind of?
It was that sort of in-between space, because they knew, which was good. I mean, it kind of reminds me of doing, you know, my final episode, which wasn't really my final episode, because it was just written before the symbiosis, I think, was actually my final episode in season 1. But, you know, it was the one was written before the other. So they knew that this was coming to an end, which this being a huge part of their lives and all of our lives. And, but especially, you know, this was a very emotionally impactful, life-changing period for all of the actors to go through. And knowing that they had a film to jump into, I think was, oh my God, what a gift, you know, what a lifesaver, because, you know, it's very, very difficult, you know, to end these things. You invest so much of yourself and your time and your being into these projects. And that particular show, again, they don't do TV shows like this anymore, where you're shooting 26 episodes per season. I spent more time on the Paramount lot than I ever spent in my apartment that year. There was no comparison, you know? And you had to really come to terms with that. And to have that suddenly end, I mean, and it literally ends like that. There's no like slow buildup. It's one day at 5 o'clock on Friday, the last shot is done. And that's it. And you're like, what just happened? What just happened? It's very
loss.
intense. Yeah, there's a
loss.
grief and a loss. Yeah.
Right over here.
Hi. I'd like to talk to you about Trekkies,
Oh, good.
your documentaries.
Yay!
I wanted to ask, what inspired you to do them, and how was your experience? How did you like doing that?
The
'Cause we love it.
the fans inspired me to do that. You know, it was my awakening, you know, in my introduction to a world I knew nothing about. I was just hired as an actor on a sci-fi show that, you know, certainly I had seen all the original Treks, and I knew there were these things called conventions, but, you know, nothing really on my radar or any of my friends' radar. And suddenly I was, in the first season, being invited to multiple cities around the country, and I was fascinated by what inspired people to gather. And then as I got to talk to some of the fans, how relationships were forged, and how charities were built, and how social justice things were being implemented, and how people were taking ideals of Star Trek and presenting them in real life. And I thought, okay, the reason this show is on the air is because of the fans. The network tried to cancel Star Trek every single year. And as we know, the fans are what kept it going. So what is this about? And I sort of got tired of turning on to my 11 o'clock news, you know, on a weeknight and watching the news broadcasters saying, oh, hey, there's a Star Trek convention coming to town this weekend. Get out your Spock ears and head on down to the Pasadena Convention Center where you too can pet a tribble, you know. And I just knew that there was more to this than that.
Right.
And
That was really good, though.
I could get on the 11 o'clock news, I'm sure. But they also, the time that I made Trekkies, there was a certain, you know, zeitgeist happening of where fandom was becoming cool, you know, like the nerds were inheriting the earth.
That's right.
You know, Apple, Microsoft, you know, things were starting to shift, and those became the cool kids, you know? And, you know, when you've got Bill Gates dressing up as Spock for a board meeting, you go, okay, we can, who are the cool guys in town? So things were shifting, and I just wanted to have the fans have a voice to tell their stories, you know. But I was very concerned that I did it in a way that was genuine and from the heart and with compassion and love, because I truly, you know, I've been blown away over the years by the fans.
All of that came through in the doc.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.